Hello and welcome to Always a Patriot, the John Jay Soccer Podcast, Episode 5. I am Brendan Horton, joined as always by Coach Robert Seipp. Coach, how we doing tonight?
Doing all right. Just got done watching the U.S. advance on PKs against Costa Rica. That was exciting. How about our goalkeeper, man? Huh? He made some great saves.
Yeah, I mean,
Did he guess right every single time?
I think at least, yeah, he might have not once, but he was, on it. I always,
And the
is it
one time
guessing or is it not?
yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I think you're reading the body language of that guy. Obviously, the tendencies of where guys typically shoot, but I think it's definitely the body language and how they angle. The angle of approach as they come up to shoot the ball. So I've always liked PKs as a kid. I liked it as a coach. I think there's definitely skill to it. A lot of times people say it's just luck. I don't believe that. I think there's a lot of skill involved. And I was impressed with our goalkeeper, and especially the one time he stood his ground. And the guy, I thought it was an intelligent shot too, because our keeper had guessed right both times, or a couple times in a row at least. And if I was a shooter, I would have done the same thing. I would have been like, you know what? This guy keeps guessing right. I'm going right down the middle. That Costa Rica guy went right down the middle. And what's his name? Freeze?
Yeah,
I've
Freeze.
never heard of him before.
No.
He stood his ground and boom, made the save.
And the shooter, the shooter's you want to crawl into a hole
Yeah.
when you do something like that.
I felt horrible for Berhalter, right? You always got to hit the frame. I feel like in those PKs.
Yeah,
So
got to give yourself a
it's just
chance.
heartbreaking. His dad was the former coach, and heartbreaking. But I thought he played well during the flow of play. Berhalter, he's a good player. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, no, he's not bad. I wonder if I have to go back. A lot of goalkeepers now are putting like a tendency thing on their water bottle. They'll have like almost like a quarterback has like in football on their wrist. They'll have a list of their shooters and just which way they're going to go. I don't know if it's odds or tendency or what specific information is on there, but I've seen a bunch of goalkeepers like in the Premier League and Champions League. When things get down to that, they'll kind of zoom in and show the keeper just going and looking at like his little cheat sheet.
Right.
On his water bottle, but I'm sure they'll ban that.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. When I was a kid, I would always go to my left every single time, and I was pretty good at getting it in that corner pocket. Not that I took a ton of penalty kicks for my travel team, but I felt I was always pretty good at PKs. But I only went one way, so if the keeper knew which way I was going, I was done because I couldn't get it accurately to my right side. would always hook it to my left. I'm not on the national team, so
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Either way, we're advancing to play Guatemala on I think Wednesday. I think it's
Okay.
Wednesday. So we'll hopefully we can have a better showing and to go with the result next time.
So are you sure it's Wednesday? Because
I'm not sure. Okay. I forget the day they said. As I was like, as the telecast was going off, they said Guatemala. I forget. I thought it was Wednesday, but.
Big party here Thursday night, graduation party of Landon Seipp. So looking forward to that. So if they play on Thursday night, we'll have it on the TV.
Okay,
Don't worry,
awesome.
Coach.
Good.
Don't worry.
Good. Looking forward to it. That'll be awesome. You'll see if I ripping out what little hair I have left there instead of in my own house. But I can't be worrying about the U.S. men's national team. We got to worry about our own, our own troubles in our own, in my own backyard before I worry about telling Pochettino what he should do. So it's been a while since we recorded. We're kind of like patching this all together. And the last couple of weeks we recorded on Wednesday, and now today it's Sunday night, like we're saying, after this Gold Cup game. So it's been now, I want to say, close to 10 days since we recorded. So a lot's happened. We've played a bunch of games.
Yeah.
We didn't have a training session because of graduation at John Jay. But what are your thoughts? Just kind of general thoughts on what you've seen since you've been
Yeah, so my general thoughts, I feel like I am really excited and positive about our guys' willingness to be coached. I feel like in past years, guys have really just not been willing to listen to us. They were sort of set in their ways on their formation of their travel teams or different positions that they wanted to play. But early on here, and it's early, we'll see what happens. But I feel like the players that we've got this year in our summer program are very coachable and are very willing to listen to us and to try new things. And this is a new formation that we haven't played with John Jay Soccer in years, and a new style. So I'm really impressed and thankful that our players are willing to listen to us and willing to be coached and willing to try what we're asking them to do. So I'm positive that these first couple of weeks here in the summer.
That's good. I agree with that too. There really hasn't been like an inkling or a sniff of anyone kind of I know better than you or this is the way that we should be doing it or any of that, which is great. And it's great on June 29th to be able to say that too. Hopefully we can say that in September, October as well. But I agree for sure. It's nice. I think that there's definitely an openness and willingness for players to kind of and an accepting nature of people to try and learn and to try and improve and everything like that. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come for sure.
Yeah, and as a coach, it's just a dream, right? I mean, we've talked about you and I doing this free of charge, right? We do not get paid for the winter program. We do not get paid for the summer program. We don't even get reimbursed for gas going down and back to Lakeland or Ossining. And I only say that not to pat ourselves on the back, but we're doing this out of the love of coaching and for players to have a willingness to be coached and to listen to our experience and our expertise and what we think is best for the team because every player has their own thoughts on what the team should be doing or what their role is on the team. It's always slanted, right? And not in a bad way. It's just human nature. Every kid thinks I play best at this position and we would be best if I did this or did that. And I just haven't gotten any of that, at least from the players so far. And it just really makes it a joy to coach. So we are volunteering our time and I've got no problem volunteering our time because I love soccer. I love John Jay. I love coaching. And the fact that our players are willing to be coached is awesome. So I'm having a good time so far this summer.
Yeah, it's nice. It's definitely been a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways, to kind of go through what was a really good winter program and then now kind of start things off on a personnel level of like I said, openness and willingness to coach because that's why we do this. We love coaching, right? We love John Jay Soccer. Obviously, we're both alumni and love coaching and want to help players who are really into soccer and help people are as kind of fanatic about it as you and I are and were and have been for our whole lives and stuff like that. So I agree with all of that. I agree with all of those things, even despite other frustrations. I think I'm excited and definitely eager to continue moving forward throughout the summer.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean we don't have problems, right? I mean, we've certainly got some issues with, some of the games that we played this week. Tonight we were down at Lakeland playing against Harrison, right? I thought Harrison had a good team. Let me
Yeah,
start
they're
by
good.
saying that. I
Yeah,
was
they're
very
good.
impressed with them. I thought a couple times we really did a good job defensively, and they were able to solve a lot of the issues that we put them in defensively. Speaking of us defensively, diving in too much defensively tonight and in other games during the week. And in that first half, right, we had a good chance. Austin had a good chance, took a shot on goal. Their goalkeeper made a good low save, and they had a good chance. And our goalkeeper, Braden Cole, made a nice low save. This is all in the first half, right? So we each had one pretty good chance at scoring. But they were up 1-0 because another chance they had was a result of us clipping a guy, near the box. And we just, for players that, don't understand, we've just had a history of committing bad fouls in bad spots on the field at bad times of the game and resulting in us, giving up goals. And that happened tonight to us in the first half. We had clipped a kid on the top of the box and Harrison got a set piece. We had three guys in the wall, but the kid just hit the ball hard and he was close enough to the goal that, that he was able to put it in the back of the net. And that is frustrating as a coach because, again, our history has been, unfortunately, where we've gone out of the sectional tournament sometimes by just committing these just silly fouls where you just want to stay goal side and you want to put players under pressure. And again, there were three chances in that first half, right? We had one in the flow of play. Their keeper made the save. They had one in the flow of play. Our keeper made the save. But that third chance that they had, their second chance, was that direct free kick. And now there's no pressure. You've got 10 yards of space. And if you're a good shooter, you could really get off a good shot at goal. So that's why we just implore our players not to commit fouls and just to stay goal side and just to put pressure under players. And if they've got to get off a shot, try to get it to shoot with their weak foot. But if they've got to get off a shot, even if it's with their strong foot, just stay goal side, put them under pressure. And that is a lot tougher to stick in the back of the net than a set piece is. So that's certainly an issue that we'll keep working on. We'll keep harping on our guys. Just stay goal side. Do not dive in defensively and do not commit any fouls, especially in our half of the field, especially 20, 25 yards away from our goal.
Yeah, this is our 5th episode, and I want to say that we've broached this topic of discussion on 3 separate ones. So for players or anyone who's listening, it's obviously a major point of emphasis for us that drives us absolutely nuts. I mean, we were being outplayed, so it's not like, I mean, we probably, if you were watching the game, we, outside of the chances that were created, you could see, yeah, all right, they're down 1-0, like they're being outplayed. But like, how many times does it happen where we're dominating play and ending up down 1-0 as a result of that? And it's just, I don't know, it's just, having coached for so many years, it's so frustrating because it's avoidable, I mean, and occasionally you'll have a tangle up or something like that, but the vast majority of fouls are avoidable. Really, the vast majority of ones that we commit are just as a result of poor defending. We generally don't have guys going after guys, and when we do, it's a huge problem that we try to address, but it's a result of just bad defending technique, overcommitting and diving in, not slowing down and chopping up your steps as you're approaching, a player with the ball. And it's so frustrating because we have guys who play on 3 different club teams, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for the last 10, 12 years. And they defend like they just started playing the game yesterday. And it's just, maybe for me, it's because it's every single year. It feels like it's nonstop. For them, it's not, but it's a continuous. I don't know if it just gets lost in the shuffle in our local youth soccer or in general. I mean, I know it's, not the most fun thing to practice or learn, but man, is it a problem for the players, and has been, not just this group specifically, but forever. The poor defending technique and inability to really act as an individual 1v1 first defender, or even to provide appropriate cover defense and close down passing lanes and things like that. So that is an area that we're going to have to spend a lot of time addressing, or we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and I don't know what the reason for that is, right? We're encouraging the kids to be aggressive, but you got to be smart, about when you step in, and when you try to tackle the ball, and when you're just staying goal side, and staying just in front of players and just being patient, right? Just because the other team has the ball doesn't mean that, we're in a bad situation. If we could force them into a double team, if we could force them to the right and make them use their left foot, their weaker foot, well, a lot of time guys back in behind. There was one time today, I think it was Julian Lurs tonight, who he was playing an offensive center mid, and the ball came out wide, and he did a really good job chasing defensively, putting players under pressure. And finally, the guy that he was defending literally for 5, 6, 8 seconds finally made a pass into the middle of the field right to Win Boscarino. And I had yelled out,
Yeah.
even though Win gets credit for that interception, Julian, you won us that ball. And his patience, Julian's a very fit player, right? So he was just continuing to chase and just putting guys under pressure and just staying goal side and close enough to where, the other team couldn't, launch it down the field, but not too close where he was going to get spun, or where, he's in a situation where he's going to create contact. And I think he just forced the guy out wide, forced him to his weak foot, forced him to make a tough, difficult pass. And like I said, it was right to Win Boscarino, and I was just so impressed. So it's there. We have those moments where we can play good defense, but and I think, just like you say, it's not that we're committing fouls because guys are being dirty, or they're not going in cleats up or anything like that.
They're not shoves or anything like that.
Right.
It's always clips from
Right.
swinging errantly at the ball with like this lack of understanding that you don't need to win the ball right this second. And I've tried to say that to guys on the bench these first couple of games. Like, it's okay that they have the ball. Like, we just need to get it eventually before they stick it in the back of our net, but all you need to do is put that guy in a position so that someone else on our team can get the ball, or they play it out of bounds. Like, it's I don't know. We've just got to, and like you said, there's snapshots and moments like that. I just, and I know that we'll be able to get there more consistently. We always do. It's just like, I feel like it feels like Groundhog's Day at the moment, like we're spinning in the hamster wheel. But like you said, that moment, I remember Julian doing that, and I remember you yelling that from the sidelines, and kind of maybe that's where my focus and emphasis should be more. That we do have guys who are getting it, even if it's on an inconsistent and kind of developmental level, right? If it were a teaching observation, they'd be getting twos, right? If it's developing or emerging or whatever it's called.
Right, right. Yeah, and I thought, and not to downplay Wynn's, role in that defensively, because he did a good job too. He saw Julian was pressuring and he was just sort of sliding back and behind and anticipating what's going to happen. Where is this guy going to play the ball? And Wynn was in the right place at the right time because he was paying attention, because defensively he was reading what Julian was doing defensively in front of him. So not to minimize what Wynn did, but I was just so impressed with, Julian not diving in, not being overly aggressive on that ball. Because when you do that, you jump in, you dive in defensively, and you're either going to foul the guy or the guy's going to get around you. And once the guy gets around you, then there's no pressure on the ball. And then he's not going to make a bad mistake. He's not going to make a bad pass because now he's got no pressure on him. And I was saying earlier too, I was really impressed with Harrison, because I felt like, Coach, a couple times we did do some pretty good stuff defensively, especially with those center attacking mids. Lucas Reverso, I thought, did a nice job. Austin, I thought, did a nice job sliding guys over. Chris Malacone and Jacob were really good on the outside mids. Defensively. And sometimes I feel like we really sort of shepherded the ball or corralled the ball in a certain area. And I really felt good about what we were going to do defensively. And Harrison was able to solve it and get out of there and change the point of the attack. And I remember turning to you a couple times and saying, this Harrison team is pretty good, because I thought we did a pretty good job there defensively, and they just solved it. They were just able to get out of the pressure that we were putting on them, change the point of the attack, and get the ball to some space. So I'm positive about the progress we're making.
Kudos to Harrison. I agree. They had a good midfield. They moved the ball well, and they were able to solve things defensively. So again, there's also that as an aspect where it's not always shortcomings on your end. Sometimes the other team's playing too, and they're trying hard. So there's two teams out there working. So you gotta, or not you. I gotta keep that in mind. But yeah, they were a good team, and I imagine they're going to do well this upcoming fall. So good for them, and not great for us tonight. But the week has been, or the last 10 days or so, has been much more than just the match that we just came home from. There was a lot of good takeaways, a lot of positive things that happened. We got a ton of guys who were out there playing. We got to get good looks at players. Starting with last Friday, Coach Fulton went to our game at Ossining, and he had noted that Brandon Linane and Uriel Botchway and Win Boscarino, like you mentioned, all looked really good. And those are kind of three very important returning varsity players for us. So it's great to see them looking good. And I agree, in the times that we've seen them play, they've looked very good. And I know a lot of that is due to we coach them in the fall and we have them in the winter. It's not trying to take credit for all of it, but at least a little bit of they're doing what we want. So it's not just that they look better; they look better in the things that we emphasize. So that was good when Coach Fulton. Sometimes you get another set of eyes on things to see if maybe you and I have this too much of a tunnel vision on things. So it's always good when someone else kind of gives you feedback, and it's not necessarily in line with what you think, but at least gives you a little check mark that, like, I'm not just kind of inventing any of this or playing it up in my own head.
Yeah, and we had a doubleheader Friday night, right? So tonight's Sunday night, but a couple nights ago we had the doubleheader Friday night at Ossining, where you and I were there coaching. And yeah, I was really impressed with Brandon Linane. I mean, he looks really good in the back, very composed on the ball. But again, just a lot of these players' willingness to be coached. I mean, we had talked to him about a couple of things that he was doing. There was one time where he had 15, 20 yards of space, and he didn't take that ball forward. He was just sort of a bit slow with the ball, and just their willingness to be coached and their willingness to listen. Very impressive. But Linane, really good player. I mean, that's like you say, and we didn't have him tonight, right? So, I mean, if you think about the roster that we had tonight, we were talking about Julian Lurs, who played really well, Lucas Reverso, who played really well, Jacob Matthews and Chris Malacone on the outside. These are players that weren't on the varsity team last year, right? Where it looked like, I don't know with Harrison, but it looked like, that they had They had a lot of their varsity guys where we really didn't have a lot of our varsity returners. We didn't have Uriel. We didn't have Lenine. We didn't have Justin Brandkamp. We didn't have Sean Vibrock or Justin Ortiz. So we were definitely missing some talented players. But again, this is why I love coaching, because I just love seeing the younger players and giving the JV guys the opportunity to, show us what they can do and show us what they can do from one half to the next, right? As we talk to them about mistakes they're making or things that they're doing or decisions that they're making that we're looking for something a little bit different. It's nice to see a lot of the players respond positively to the suggestions that we're making. So that's what the summer's for, right? Just, getting out there, getting the guys together, and especially for us, seeing some of the young players that we've seen on the JV team, but we're not with on a day in, day out basis. So it's nice, like on Friday night, to coach players in that doubleheader, where I think we tied the first game, right, and then we won the second game 2-0. Some impressive performances by
Yeah.
some of our younger players.
Two of those younger guys who looked really good and played both on Friday and tonight were, one, Luca Tricarico, who is a rising ninth grader, played on our JV team last year, just really looked like he belonged out there, both with the ball and in defense. I wouldn't blame anyone that young for being completely kind of outmatched or overmatched, and he really wasn't. He at any, whether it was against Sleepy Hollow or Westlake or
Harrison tonight,
yeah, right? Like Harrison, who's really a really good side. Like he really looked like he was comfortable and calm, and it was nice to see him. The other one is a rising sophomore, Gianluca DiGesso, who played well. Well, was able to come in and defend and kind of move the ball and play with some composure. Little tougher tonight against kind of a better, more really talented, quick ball moving midfield. But again, to see him playing well is good. And like you say, the opportunity to see that in this summer is something that is extremely beneficial, like we talked with Tim a couple weeks ago. So those two guys kind of stuck out immediately as two young guys who, again, were both on the JV team last year, who have really seized the opportunity in the time that they've had in our summer league games to kind of make obviously a positive impression with me at the very least, and I think with you as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And kudos to Michael Versace tonight too, right? He had to play center back for us because we didn't have a lot of our defenders tonight. And I thought he did a good job. And I've been really impressed with his fitness. One of the guys that ran spring track, right? And he may have even done winter track, I believe. And that's really showing he's able to fly up and down the sidelines. So I really see us using him in the fall is one of those outside mids that's just going to be able to fly up and down the field. But tonight we couldn't use him there, right? Tonight we needed him at center back, and he did a really good job at center back. And we've talked before about, like players playing out of position. I've known Michael Versace, ever since he's 7-8 years old, because he's Austin's age and playing on Austin's travel team growing up, the Falcons. That's a center midfielder. He's a center midfielder by trade. He's always played center midfield. Well, I think we're going to be very happy with him as an outside mid for us this year, but we also needed to use him at center back tonight. So, and again, just going along the theme of these guys and just their willingness to play for us and to be coached by us and to listen to us is it makes it all worthwhile as a coach.
Yeah, I agree. Michael played really well tonight and answered the call, regardless of the result. He played well, and he's played well all summer. I agree as well. He's looked pretty clean with the ball. He's defended well and hard. And again, as someone who was with us last year, to see that growth in the things that we value is definitely another kind of check mark in the positive column, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how he will do on the outside wing there. So one of the things I've been frustrated with, I don't think you're as frustrated as I am, but with our outside midfielders, when they get the ball and they're able to face up, I really want those guys trying to take guys on 1v1. We talked to the guys tonight before the game about, sometimes you want to play quickly, sometimes you want to play one touch. But sometimes, you have the opportunity to dribble, you have the opportunity to take guys on. And a couple times tonight, we had that ball out wide with some of our players that were playing out wide. And for whatever reason, those guys default to playing the ball into the middle of the field where all the covering defenders are, or they default to playing it back where if they could just turn and look forward, there is a pocket of space down that sideline. And we want those guys trying to take guys on 1v1 and trying to get into that penalty area. We've talked to the players for years about this, trying to enter the penalty area from the side, as opposed to going across the long, 18-yard line. We want those guys entering
Yeah.
along
The
those,
vertical line. Yeah.
yeah,
On the vertical.
that are parallel to the sidelines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, when players get the ball out wide, they always look to cut it back into the middle. Not for whatever reason, because the goal's there, right? I get it, but the goal is there, but the covering defenders are also there. So, so just I've been a little frustrated encouraging our outside guys. When you get the ball, let's see if we could take guys on 1v1 down that flank. And if you can't, your first look should be into the center forward, and maybe he could play a diagonal ball so that you could get down to the flag and enter that penalty area, or like you say, along those vertical lines of the penalty area where there's a soft spot defensively. Or opposing teams don't defend those areas. They defend in the middle of the field because that's a lot of times where guys go, and that's where the good angles to shoot and score are. A lot of times the better opportunities come from guys getting out wide, guys getting along the end line, entering that penalty area from that vertical line. And then think about what the goalkeeper has to do in that situation, right? He's got a lock on that near post because he can't give up that near post goal as you start dribbling in towards like the corner of the 6. And then we can just flood it with, center midfielders and the other outside midfielder, and we could just slot balls across to those players that can just one time it into basically an empty net.
You get a nice wide open 8-yard goal
right.
to shoot on.
That happened for us, if you remember, on Friday night of the Ossining doubleheader. Forget who brought it. It might have been Justin Ortiz. I can't remember, but somebody had brought it out wide there and had entered the penalty area through that vertical line and played just a beautiful ball across, and the other outside midfielder that was just flying down the field, missed it. He missed it one time, but it was a beautiful opportunity. And we were really good saying, hey, listen, the opportunity that we created for ourselves as a team was fantastic. The game was tied 1-1, and we put that ball up over the top. But what a beautiful opportunity that we had. And everybody was bummed, right? Because it was tied 1-1 and because that wasn't the game-winning goal. But you and I were just ecstatic about
pumped.
The opportunity that we had created for ourselves. It was a golden opportunity. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to miss some wide open goals every now and then. But that's, for me, been a little bit frustrating with those outside guys that for whatever reason, they can't see those good opportunities that we could create for our team because they're just, for whatever reason, they're not willing to attack down the sidelines where that empty pocket of space is. They're sort of defaulting to going into the center midfielders where, again, just a ton of opposing players are, or they're defaulting to going backwards. I'd love to just see them, even if it's to force the ball down that sideline. And then, once we start forcing it down there, then we could say to them, hey, listen, maybe that wasn't a time to do it because there were some covering defenders over there, or you were a little too tight to the sideline. But for whatever reason, at this point, early on in the summer, our unwillingness for our outside players to take that ball all the way down to the end line is something that I'll continue to push those outside guys to do.
Yeah, I think like you had texted me earlier today, like it's something that we'll definitely have to do in practice when they're live and stuff, to just stop it and kind of show them like, here, this is a scenario where you want to do this. Like, take a look. Here's your defender. This is when you want to do it, Bears, and then stop and say, all right, here's a time when you want to go it, and almost create like different scenarios. Like when you have this, you go. When you have this, you don't, or just at least more common situations that they'll find themselves in, because like you said, they're not making those decisions well on their own at the moment. So we'll have to help them out for sure.
Yeah, and in practice, we can definitely do that, right? Like we've done this before. We put our outside mid out wide, outside the numbers of the football field, right? So on the turf, this is always a nice marker for us where we tell those players, okay, get outside the numbers on the football field. And we play them the ball out wide. And inevitably, and this is what's happening in the games, and this is what you and I are seeing, is the other 20 players on the team, or on the field, excuse me, for us, 10 for us and 10 for them, are inside those numbers, right? So that's where all the covering defenders are. So get that ball out wide to one of our players that's outside of the numbers on the football field. They'll certainly be defended by an opposing player, but see if they can then solve that 1v1 still outside the numbers of the football field. And once they are able to hit their guy 1v1 down the flank, down the sideline there, once they can get past their guy, then they can cut inside those football numbers and attack that near post and stick that goalkeeper on that near post and get all the covering center backs to slide over to that near post. And then that's when you can slot those balls across. And that's what we did in that first game Friday night at Ossining. It was 1-1. And again, we didn't finish it, but you and I were like, we could care less that we didn't finish it. What an opportunity we just created for ourselves.
Yeah, and it's probably worth us having conversations with those players as well. So it's not like in the heat of the game, like when we're at practice or when they're on the bench or something like that. Just because it's one thing, I guess, to be being kind of barked at from the sidelines, but like there's so much going on that it's tough to take it in then. And I don't think Jacob came off the field today, so there was no opportunity really at during play to do that. But it's probably just worth us hammering home during practice, during drills that we do, during situations that we set up, and then just talking with them. And like you said, they're open to coaching and they're looking to learn. And I think the guys that we have been playing out there are really not acclimated necessarily to either being out there or to doing what we want them to do out there. So it's not something that's natural. So we have to kind of break habits that are already there before we can form the ones that we want them to have. It's not a blank slate.
Yeah, 100% agree, right? If you think about the players we're using out there right now, Jacob Matthew played stopper for Coach Axelson last year, right? And the JV team. So, I mean, it's not used to doing something like that. Michael Versace has played center mid his entire life. He's not used to being out there. Chris Molicone's a forward. His entire life. So he's not used to being out there. So it definitely is new for these guys. But again, I really appreciate their just willingness to listen and willingness to try. But for whatever reason, we haven't had success, getting them, if nothing else, force it down that sideline. Because if you think about that, if you force that ball forward down that sideline, if you're an outside mid and you're outside the numbers on the football field and you force it down the sideline, you kick that ball down towards the corner flag and it's unsuccessful. What happens? The guy who's defending you has the ball, right? But he's got his back facing the direction that he wants to go. He's facing his own goal, and you could sort of defensively just lock him in. So that's sort of my frustration. Like if we lose the ball by that outside mid playing it into the middle of the field, they can counter on us. If we lose that ball with that outside mid going back, they could counter on us. But if we lose that ball by us trying to go forward, a lot of times good things are going to happen. They're just going to kick it out of bounds, or they may give us a corner kick. But at worst case scenario, they're going to get to that ball and we're going to be putting pressure on them from behind. So it's a failure. I get it. We lost the ball. We weren't able to beat guys 1v1. So we lost the ball. But the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to be able to play back to their goalkeeper or back to their center back, and they're going to be able to change the point of the attack. And that's probably not going to happen because we're going to have a center forward up there and it's going to be difficult for them to do. So just all kinds of good things can happen, even in failure, right? If we're trying to attack those flanks. And you and I have been saying this for a year, right? Try to attack the flanks because that's where the space is.
Yeah. I mean, I think that players, they don't do the best job identifying like the upside potential versus the downside potential of things and really making their on the fly decisions based upon that. We talked about it a little bit a week or two ago where, like you would say, it's not necessarily the ideal thing that we're looking for because we value possession. But when you look at, like you said, the downside being like, all right, we lose it 120 yards from our goal, they play to the keeper or they get a goal kick or something like that. Well, if we're defending well, then we're in our attacking third and can generate a chance from that. But so many good things can happen. You can get around the edge, you can get a corner kick, earn a set piece. And I don't think the players necessarily maybe don't think that way. I don't know. Maybe worth asking them, but I think they're obviously seeing something different on the field than we're seeing from the sideline.
I think it's a great point that you bring up because I'm reminded of that Ossining game. I think that's the second game in Ossining. We won the game 2-0, but Braden Cole had the ball at his feet, our goalkeeper, and Gianluca DiGesso, right, was a CDM for us, a central midfielder checking back to the ball, and Braden Cole played him the ball, right? And Gianluca was open, but he had somebody on his back, and Braden Cole's defense, we're always preaching, play to feet, keep possession of the ball. But in that situation, that just puts Gianluca in such a difficult position. And I'm not so sure keeping possession in that situation is worth it. And we talked to Braden, we talked to the whole team about it at halftime, right? That's a ball that we just don't want to play. Gianluca's checking back towards the ball. Somebody's on his back, play back in behind him, right? Or play
Right.
over the top of him to somebody else's feet, and then he can turn around. And again, if we lose the ball, that ball's played to Gianluca DiGesso. If we lose that ball, man, they have a great opportunity to score versus playing back in behind somebody who's checking in towards the ball, playing back behind them to maybe a center attacking mid or a center forward. If we lose the ball there, we still have 9-10 guys still to defend. So you worded it very well, Coach.
One of those things where, like, yeah, great. If we play to that CDM and he one touch bounces the ball to our outside back, who then gets it out, like, wonderful. If they do it perfectly, the upside is you beat the first layer of defensive pressure, and the downside of not doing it is you concede a goal.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you got to weigh those things.
Right.
And you have to look at the different thirds of the field. It's like, well, in our defensive third, like, you have to, the potential downside is like almost all I care about.
Right.
And then when we get into the middle, it's a little bit more. And then in the attacking third, let it fly. Like, take your risks, because if we lose it, it's no big deal. And just, again, that understanding of situation and where you are in the field. And it's like, you take a risk in that final third, because if it pays off, you score a goal. And if you lose it, the downside is, okay, we've turned it over a mile from our goal. So again, I don't know, just to try and keep conveying that message to our players, because again, it's an area of difficulty where they struggle for sure.
Yeah, and it's a little frustrating for us as coaches because, like you say, we didn't have a practice last week because of graduation, and we won't have a practice this week with it being the 4th of July weekend. But we've got time.
It's a long summer.
Right. But as coaches, you and I, we love the practices. We love the opportunities, just to break things down for the players and to try to show them, what we're seeing and what we would rather have them do on the field. But in time, I guess we'll get to some practices.
Yeah. Especially like in August, we'll have 4 in a week. Like that's kind of where I'm looking forward to. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I enjoy training more than games, like, largely. And I've been told by other coaches that that's nuts, but I don't know. There's just something about it that I just enjoy a really good practice session where things go well and you can, in the first 3 minutes of doing something, it's a wreck, but you're able to get them to do it and be successful over the next 10 minutes. There's just something incredibly rewarding about that to me that coaching games stresses me out. I don't know. I remember talking to Dan Belfi about it, and he was like, "What do you mean? That's the whole reason you do it, is to do the games." And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just, maybe it's a me thing. I don't know. But I love training. I love training.
Yeah, I think it's a soccer thing, right? Because in soccer, we don't have any timeouts. We have very little control once that game starts. I mean, we could talk to the players before, we could talk to the players at halftime, we could yell till we're blue in the face from the sideline. But soccer is really a player's game, and the practices are our opportunities as coaches to really sort of play chess with the kids and really let them know where we want them to be and what we want them to do. And to talk to them about the decisions that they're making on the field. But Coach, I'm exactly with you. I know in preseason, everybody wants to have 100 scrimmages. I never like to do scrimmages. I like to select the team, and then can I have 10 days to just go into like a mini training camp with our guys to get them ready for the season. And then the other thing that I really enjoy, and sometimes that it just works out this way in the schedule, is when you play 6, 7, 8 games, and then you have like a week off or 6 or 7 days of no games in the middle of the season. I love that too, because it's an opportunity just to reset and say, okay, we played 6, 7, 8 games, and these are the problems that we continually have. Let's take a week and let's really focus on the problems that we're having out there. And then a lot of times when the season ends too, I love when we are one of the top seeds and we have a bye in that first round of sectionals, because again, you can get a chunk of time, 5, 6, 8 practices in a row where you could just really focus and hone in on exactly what you want the guys to do when they get out there. I know players don't like it. I didn't like it as a player. I can remember being a little kid thinking to the coach, or literally saying to the coach, when are we going to scrimmage? When are we going to scrimmage? Right? Because that's what players want to do. They just want to play the game. Coaches want to coach, right? And
Yeah.
it's like you say, it's very tough for us to coach during the game because it's tough to yell out instruction as things are taking place. It's just not conducive to a coaching situation in soccer. Basketball, you can call timeouts. Baseball, in between innings. Like football, you can call timeouts. Not
In between
soccer.
every play. Yeah.
Not
No,
soccer. You got to let them play.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I love the weeks off, and the high school soccer schedule just generally doesn't lend itself to that. I'm sure Matt Allen's ears are perking up here and that because he's long been campaigning to have fewer games and more practices, more training time. But like you said, when you play Monday, practice Tuesday, play Wednesday, practice Thursday, play Friday. There's only so many so many things you can really address in that period because like not only are we addressing the problems we've had in the last 2 games, we're trying to prepare for tomorrow too.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we get that week, it's huge, and I think especially like we keep coming back to these groups of guys that we've got now that are so kind of open and eager to learn and improve. It's sometimes you have that week and end up feeling like you're beating your head against the wall because they're just so cemented into what they want to do, right, wrong, or otherwise. But I feel like that would be such a valuable time for us to spend, whether it's in August or we get one in the end of September or October or leading into the postseason. That's something that I hope we're able to get this year because I think we'd be able to make really good use and have it be valuable.
Yeah, and I think we will have that opportunity once the summer leagues end in the beginning of August. We will have a chunk of time where I think we've got already the turf reserved at John Jay, at 8 o'clock, 8 to 9:30.
3 weeks, I
For
think.
3 straight weeks, yeah, from like Monday to Thursday or
Yeah,
Monday to
12.
Friday.
Yeah, 12 sessions I think we have
Yeah,
set up, and
yeah. Well,
you know,
looking forward to it. I'm sure the
yeah,
players aren't looking forward to it, and we'll certainly mix in our fitness there,
yeah. And
as
I
well.
want the players who are looking forward to it, and so do
Yeah,
you, right? Like
yeah,
those are the guys
yeah.
I want. I want the guys looking forward to that.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, we could talk. I know we're running late here, but we could talk a little bit about that. This year, this summer season, I think has been from a participation standpoint, we're really, I don't want to say hurting for numbers, but our numbers are much lower this year than they have been in the past. And I think that's because our sessions are not just, hey, let's come out and let's just play pickup soccer, because as coaches, that's what we used it for in the past. Let's just get a look at some of these guys and get them out there and scrimmaging. But it just becomes, where guys are goofing off, and we've talked about you and I volunteering our time, and that's not what we're looking for. So this year we really changed the focus of that summer program to be more of training sessions and more of working on fitness and doing some drills. So there's still some scrimmage time in our practice sessions, but some of those times are spent on fitness. Some of those times are spent on activities where we're trying to create these game like situations so that the players can learn exactly what we want them to do. And that has cost us some players. Some players have opted out of that. And to your point, that's kind of the point. That's what we want, because we want players that are serious about getting better fitness wise, serious about working hard, serious about understanding, hey, what do the coaches want and what role am I going to play on this team? I know I might play a different role on my travel team, but what role do Coach Horton and Coach Seipp want me to play on this team? Let me get after it and let me learn by running some drills and then getting an opportunity to scrimmage or to go to some of these summer league games. So our numbers are down, but I think both of us are okay with that, because the players that are coming are players that want to be there and that want to work hard and that want to learn.
Yeah, we have probably at least half a dozen players who have showed up to one training session, whether it was the first one or the second one. We haven't seen them since.
Right.
And like that's fine. That's fine. All right. Like we still getting plenty of guys, and they're the guys who I want there. The guys who want to learn and want to get better and are committed to improving and committed to John Jay soccer. We've talked about this, like 100 guys who try out in the fall, but like we don't have 100 guys who are committed to John Jay soccer. We have 100 guys who like playing soccer. I mean, it's fun. But the number of guys who are committed to doing what we want them to do to try and accomplish a goal that we want to accomplish is a significantly smaller number than that. And if you're unable to kind of commit in August, I definitely know that you can't commit in October. Like the time to start that came and went. Everybody's going to work hard from August 25th on. What you do now is what's important, right? I don't need you to show up and be the most committed guy 2 months from now, it's too late.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so the upcoming schedule. I'm looking at the calendar, Coach, right now on the website. We've got Osting tomorrow. We play the Osting A team tomorrow at 5:30. So that'll be a
Should be a good
really
game.
good
I think
game. Yeah,
we got a lot of guys coming who are available and in town. Should be a good game.
right. And then it looks like on Wednesday we play as well at Osting at 6:45. So it looks like we've got a Monday game and a Wednesday game coming up. Actually, Coach, Monday we play North Salem.
Okay.
Looking at the calendar, but Wednesday
Yeah.
we play the Osting A team.
Okay.
So that's what we've got for this week: a game on Monday, a game on Wednesday, and
Yeah,
then
the Wednesday's a makeup game from when it was 1,000 degrees.
okay,
Yeah. But yeah, no, it should be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to my first day of summer vacation tomorrow, and kind of getting through the 4th of July and really being able to get back and start practicing and training again, and seeing what kind of progress we can make from
yeah,
where we are right now.
yeah, sounds good. Well, yeah, listen, my first day of summer vacation was Friday because we didn't have school on Friday. I know your last day was on Friday at Walter Panis High School. So enjoy tomorrow, your
Thank
first
you.
day off, my second day off of summer vacation. Best part about teaching, right, is July
Yeah,
and August.
that's it. Yeah,
Awesome
absolutely.
times. But all right, yeah. So we've got a game Monday, a game Wednesday, and then enjoy the 4th of July, and we'll be back Sunday night to talk about those games.
Yeah, yes, we will, and whatever else comes up between now and then. Maybe we'll be talking about our Gold Cup semifinal victory,
USA,
anything
let's
like that.
go.
All right,
Yeah,
go USA.
yeah.
All right, Coach. I will talk to you later. Everyone, thank you very much for listening, tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Really appreciate it. Take
All
care.
right, take care.